Hello, everyone. Welcome to the University of the Underground, a free, pluralistic, and transnational university founded in 2017. We are a charity. And my name is Naum, the head of program of I Want to Believe, a program that focuses on religion, belief systems, and their intersection with politics, economics, society, nation states, and more. I would like to welcome our researchers and also to visiting participants and to anyone watching this video. I kindly ask you to support the university by going to our website and donating so we can keep going and keep creating these programs. I would like to, today we're gonna have something very different and special. We have with us Chiron Armand, and I would like to introduce him to you. Chiron is a founder of Impact Shamanism, which is a spirit-initiated shaman holding additional initiations in such New World traditions as Haitian Vodou, Brazilian Quimbanda. Chiron is also a trained Hoodoo root doctor in the Southern Conjure tradition, and also he's the author of Deliverance, Hoodoo Spells of Uncrossing, Healing and Protection, and also of Clearing Spaces, Inspirational Techniques to Heal Your Home. He holds an MA in Performance Studies from NYU and a BA in Ritual Anthropology and Queer Studies from Hampshire College. And in this initiative, Impact Shamanism, it's all about empowering creatives, leaders, and visionaries to make their mark on our world and use their gifts to meet the unique challenges of our time. They do coaching, counseling, and healing practices to provide restorative solutions and transformative tools to help people and alike to change the way that we see the world. So today, Chiron is going to share with us some of the wisdom he's been accumulating. So Chiron, welcome to the University of the Underground. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much for having me, truly. And hello, everyone. We're going to embark on what's going to be a unique adventure to me. I'm used to working especially with folks who come from a magical and or occult or shamanic background overtly. And I imagine that this class is filled with academics and artists. And I imagine that there's some people here who have sort of those overt leanings or practices, and perhaps some who don't. And that's always fun to me because I revel in being someone who is very down to earth, and I revel in being someone who is a great, I think like a living gateway drug to to spiritual traditions and stuff. I definitely have a lot of experiences with different traditions and different practices and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm here eating a bowl of cereal, watching Netflix. And that's, I'm human and we're all human. And I think that what my own path, as local as it has really been about discovering what human actually means. And what it is that human actually is far more fucking cool and interesting and terrifying than we are generally led to believe. Because of what we're going to be exploring in this class, I feel like there's a sense that we're going to be, a good container is helpful here. And to start engaging that good container, is there anyone here who's willing to just sort of like raise your hand, unmute yourself, and just say your name, pronouns, and where in the world you're from, maybe something that you've already studied or like information you've come across in this class so far that you've really enjoyed, where you're at in your practice. Just tell me something.
Who wants to be first? Don't be shy. Everyone will have to do it.
Hi.
I don't mind going first. Okay.
Jessica, she, they. I am researching the overlap between spirituality and sex work, specifically asking about the overlap between the physical and the spiritual. And a couple of days ago, I was completely lost. And with help from my community here and elsewhere, I think I'm getting unstuck.
Awesome. That is delicious work that I resonate with greatly. Fuck yeah.
Well, I'll go then. There was that flash. I'm Teresa. I'm originally from Slovakia, but I'm living in London for a decade. And I'm a visual artist, photographer, and slowly turning into making video and film too. And what brought me into here was kind of unpicking the family and unpicking how spirituality plays out in family. And now I'm exploring it in a local cemetery.
Awesome. Yes. Local cemeteries, my favorite place. Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
Hi, I'm G, she, they, and I am based in London, and I'm looking at reclaiming birth as a rite of passage and focusing on the experience of the birthing person, the birthing person, rather than the delivery of the baby.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you're all doing work that is so necessary. Like truly, truly, this is like really good shit. We need this. Like, yes, please continue. Everyone else, please. I need to hear all your medicines. Oh, this is all awesome.
I would continue. Hi, my name is Jamal. He, him. I'm based in Germany. I'm a photographer and video maker. You had me at the word gateway drug. Amazing word to describe yourself. Yes, here in this program, or like I got into this program because I had a sort of weird skepticism towards belief systems and religion in general. And it really widened my horizon, and I tried to use this residency to research climate issues, in particular how to communicate about climate change without guilt, and to find new ways how to narrate the story. And I would, I'm at the point where Jessica was last week, so I'm still a bit confused. So maybe I'm looking for spiritual healing in this.
Oh, there's nothing like being lost. That's the best. Because then you get found. Duh, like yeah. That's the best part.
Yes, and this amazing community of people. I mean, everyone is so supportive, and we're all making our projects, trying to make our projects work. So I'm curious what will happen in this workshop. So,
well, thank you for your work. I mean, obviously, climate change is necessary conversation, and we need to drop a shit ton of bullshit around it collectively and personally. So, thank you for your work, truly.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'm going to say hi after Jamal because I think I'm probably came from quite similar reason as to why I did this course as well. And I'm also studying and researching the stuff about the environment to do with our spiritual connection with nature, and like whether we like making that stronger changes our actions towards the environment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Francisco. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm originally from Colombia, based in Amsterdam nowadays. I've been researching about materiality, let's say like an ontology of materiality and objects. And through that, I also researched a little bit of animism, like this connection, although I don't like to use the word animism. Yeah, it's weird because in a way I'm like the ultimate skeptical person, but at the same time I want to believe in stuff. So So yes, that's why I joined the University of the Underground.
Awesome. One of my favorite words is ontology. So yeah, that's something that I have spent a lot of time in, like the sacred and the overt sacred, but the academic materiality, ontology. I actually, I come from a performance studies background, which I usually call secular animism, because once we start saying that things have agency, we sort of enter into a whole like new level of possibility. I'm curious about your concern about the word animism. Let's talk about that a bit later. I just
Sure.
yeah. No,
Right now,
I'd love to hear. Actually, right now, yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, the thing is that animism was coined by 19th century Northern European people as a way to, almost a demeaning term to describe certain visions of the world. Yeah, so it has all these
colonialist conflict.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in it. It's in the word. Yeah, we're wordly fucked with English. English is not giving us the good stuff that frankly we need. And I'll talk a little bit about that too when I introduce myself a bit more too. So thank you for saying that. Thank you, truly.
Yeah, but at the same time, yeah, that's it's
we're working with what we got.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's where we are right now. Thank you.
Hi, this is Sony. I'm from Nepal, but I live in London. But right now, I'm actually in Nepal, and my project is about deities because there's pantheon of deities in Nepal, and I'm kind of researching into if I can build a deity, like create a deity.
Ooh, that sounds very chaos magic. Ah, yes. I don't know if you've ever heard the term chaos magic, and I do not know if perspectives on chaos magic would be able to support you, but they might be able to support you. You might look in, if that can help you at all, you might look in that direction, because that is something that's thought about, a lot with, thought forms and perspectives, and how do we add to an idea so much so that that idea begins to give to us. Totally fascinating. And I'm sorry, and also what deities already are there that we're not paying attention to and calling deities. If you looked, I don't know if you're at all familiar with Neil Gaiman's American Gods, but
I love that show.
Yeah, he's already looking at these ideas that our world is filled with. We're not calling them that, but there are these forces that we are fucking paying homage to, and that have a whole lot of fucking power over us. So fascinating, truly.
I think our ancestors are the most ignored deities at the moment, so.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a lot. We can talk so much about that, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kayla, she, her, and I'm a jeweler from Turtle Island, Canada. My project is about encouraging Indigenous people to take on community care when they're working within industries. So yeah, actually, I don't really understand it fully yet, but it has something to do with community care, and it's informed by spring buds and strawberries and lichen. So I'm just trying to figure that
out. This might have nothing to do with what you brought up, but you said community care and industry. And so when you say industry, I imagine you're speaking especially about industrialization industry, like Indigenous folks who find themselves in the contemporary industrialized world and processes, correct?
Yeah, just living a decolonial life within colonialism.
My mind went directly to the phenomena of Neak-Ta, Neak-Ta. Back in the day, I wrote about this a bit in my book, Clearing Spaces, back in the day, like 2008. There were these articles that were coming out about factory workers, I believe in Southeast Asia, who were suddenly finding themselves possessed like fainting and finding themselves possessed, like on the factory floor, and like and everyone's sort of like stopping them, what the fuck is going on? And like the factory owner having to like deal with, you know, possibly the phenomenon that this is a local land spirit who's like, what the fuck are you doing with my resources? What the fuck are you doing with my people? Like, you need to like back down on the, you know, the slave labor like elements of this and start. And it's fascinating. You might look that up because I feel like that might be an interesting, you know, and to provide some interesting perspective.
Yeah, that sounds super intense. Thanks for.
For sure, my pleasure. And anyone else?
Come on, Chloe, you can do it.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm from London, but I'm in Germany, Berlin now. And I am a visual artist, and I am making my work about how ghosts and life after death is represented visually, especially within mass media, and whether that can be useful for us as a kind of metaphor to talk about life after death, especially for people that are secular or atheists. How can we engage with this kind of existential topic, and how does that clash or marry with this kind of mass entertainment image of ghosts and life after death? And my pronouns are she, her, or they.
You all literally had my favorite topics. Like everything that you're all talking about, like intersects with my world, intersects, and I have my own perspectives, but I am thrilled about other ways to approach this kind of stuff. Yes, there's actually, I remember in performing my own performance in this program, coming across the idea of hauntology, you know, that which, you know, leaves its remains, or you know, the ghost of things, the idea that something exists when we're able to see that it exists, not because it's in front of us, but because of the trace of it. And I was like, you know, as someone who deals with ghosts every day and spirits very overtly, you know, it was just like, wow, I love this take too. So thank you. Yeah, we've got to figure out collective ways of talking about things that we might not agree on collectively, because we're all here together. And that's really the challenge of our contemporary culture, because we're not going to sleep and waking up together in a single cosmology. That makes things, I think, a lot easier. Where we're all just like, we're awakening when we all have the same gods with the same traditions and everything takes place. We're not dealing with that. You know, colonialism and the way that it has happened has left us with something that we've never seen before. And so the challenges are really great right now. So all of these ways of engaging and saying, we're going to pull out every fucking tool we can to make sense of this is all necessary. So thank you so much, truly, as well. Nice to meet you, Chloe. Is there anyone else? Is that everyone?
Hi, sorry, I'm Celeste. I'm living in Manchester at the moment, studying fine art, and in this course, I'm exploring harmful narratives coming from the Catholic Church towards marginalized groups of people, kind of using that, the confession sacrament and the examination of conscience sacrament to kind of have that conversation and maybe listen to testimonials of people. And my pronouns are she, her.
Wonderful to meet you. My mind immediately goes to the Mexican folk saint Santa Muerte, who is, who, you know, as a devotee of her, she loves Catholic imagery. She just appropriates the shit out of Catholic imagery while being especially patron of marginalized folks. So she's really at that intersection in case, you know, perspectives on her or, you know, accounts of engagement with her provide any, you know, direction for you. Yeah, it's fascinating how this institution that took over the world, how folks have found themselves in varying proximity to it based on their demographics. And I'm continually amazed by, oftentimes in my work, folks' ancestors who pushed them towards Catholicism, often forms of folk Catholicism, saying this did become a part of us. And there is medicine here, and we can walk alongside with this. Gloria Anzaldúa is a Chicana lesbian feminist author, writer, mystic, who herself was engaging at that intersection of I am a Catholic person, but I'm also an indigenous person. I'm also mestiza. So these are just things that come to my mind in case they provide any thoughts or interest. Anyone else? Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Oh, Nahum, were you going to say something?
No. Oh. Go ahead.
I'm Karen. I am based in São Paulo, and I've lived here most of my life. I really like how you physically react to what people say.
So
nice on Zoom, because on Zoom you're always like, I don't know if people are even hearing me.
Oh no, I'm an hour north of you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I have a background in architecture and urbanism. And what I am researching in this project is if we can use this framework of magic and re-enchantment to change the places that we live in. And I'm very into drag. So now the question that's sort of in my mind of how I could put this is, can we put a city in drag? I think that's an interesting way to frame what I want to do.
Wow. Yeah, it's so funny, it's so interesting too, because I've been learning a little bit about drag culture here in Sao Paulo. Because my boyfriend has been showing me various things and various performances that took place, and yeah, we'll talk a little about that later. But wonderful to meet you. That is potent visionary work. Oh yeah, I smoke like a motherfucker.
How are you?
I'm in Campinas. I lived for a year in Sao Paulo the past year. I am an hour from you. I have to go pick up my cat in Sao Paulo on Monday. Yeah, I'm very no holds bar. I say the N-word. I'm from Queens, New York. I wear fitted caps and Timbs. I'm smoking cigarettes. Yeah, so again, I'm very down to earth. I'm not what you might perceive. I'm not what you might expect. But I'm here, and is there anyone else?
Yeah, Ruth and David.
Hey. I can go. Oh, hi. Go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm outside at the moment, traveling back home. So yeah, my name's Ruth. I'm from Northern Ireland. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. I work with energy healing. And yeah, I've had a lot of shamanic initiations as well. And I'm a painter and a costume designer. And my project is looking far back to ancestral history, and then looking very, very far forward into the future, into cyber technologies, and how we can kind of combine the two.
How do we get these old medicines? We're nothing new. Nothing is new. We just have to figure out how these ancestral medicines can speak to us today for the descendants. We have a job to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is David. You can call me Mariposa. He, she is fine. I work with the monarch butterflies. I don't know if you're familiar. They're all over the world, but they have a migration pattern very interesting in America. They're born in the north in Canada, and then they travel to Mexico to these specific sanctuaries. I grew up around these sanctuaries. And after living as an artist for 37 years and working with community indigenous people and about this butterfly and environmentalism, I shifted my career into the consciousness. I started following the research of a Mexican doctor who studied shamans in Mexico for 15 years. His name is Dr. Greenberg. he disappeared in 1994. And so I sort of contacted his assistant, who's followed his research. And now I'm working with her, especially focusing the research in an experiment he did where he was proving telepathy within two brains that were meditating together. So right now I'm focusing my research in telepathy and shamanism and the research of this doctor in Mexico.
That's awesome, beautiful, wonderful to meet you, David Mariposa. Yeah, I'm a Taurus, I'm an earth sign, so my home is in contemporary, especially contemporary diasporic traditions of, you know, the Americas is especially my home, but sometimes my work has forced me into looking at ancient aliens kind of stuff that makes me generally uncomfortable, but then I have to go there and deal with it and just get back to solid ground. But one thing that has always struck me is when I go in that direction is that there are these stories and conversations about, like, you know, folks really having transpersonal conversations across continents, that we were really far more mentally interconnected than we can even imagine right now. Telepathy is really fascinating. And I'm always fighting for institutionalized medicine to start recognizing, I'm not going to say the benefits of alternative medicine, because that's really diminishing to what what I know is necessary for our well-being. Yeah, is there anyone else? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your work.
I think that's it, right? I think we have gone through everyone.
Awesome.
So that's the familia.
So thank you so much for reading my bio. I will, I guess, expand a little bit just on where I am right now. My name is Chiron Armand. I was born and raised in New York City, but I've been a bit of an international vagabond my entire adult life, having lived and or thoroughly traveled to or couch surfed through places such as London and Athens, Greece, and California. And I have an apartment in Guatemala that I'm paying rent on, but that COVID kicked me out of because I came to Brazil for a workshop in the Brazilian tradition of Quimbanda. That was last January, to study with one of my own teachers' teachers. And then when I got out of the workshop, about a month later, COVID stuck me in Brazil, and then a bunch of weird fate and destiny shit, which usually tends to happen to me, just kept me here far longer. So as I was explaining to someone earlier, yeah, I lived in Sao Paulo for a year. I moved just north to the smaller city of Campinas, which is north, representing here, which is just an hour north of Sao Paulo. It's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit calmer. And yeah, I just moved here in January, and yeah, I'm continuing. I've been in, I do have various initiations. I am an initiated Houngan in Haitian Vodou, going back about 5 or 6 years. I have licença, which is sort of a minor initiation in the tradition of Brazilian Quimbanda, which is extremely fascinating. You know, there are various connections between, you know, which we won't be able to get into too much today, but if you map out West and Central Africa, you can start to look at what, you can start to understand some of the New World traditions in the West, you know, the Yoruba traditions and how they're reflected in Candomblé in Brazil, or Santeria in Cuba. Quimbanda is more drawing on a Congo tradition, the Congo necromantic focus on the dead, in a slightly similar way that you might find Palo Mayombe in Cuba. So you know, these intricacies are extremely fascinating to me. They're not extremely relevant to me, extremely relevant today. But I did want you to know why I am here. It's especially for Quimbanda. Intimacy is hugely important to me. I think a lot of folks in my work and my world are always worried about appropriation. To me, appropriation cannot happen if we're choosing intimacy. I came to Brazil because I love Quimbanda, because I love my spirits in the tradition, because I felt a deep resonance with it. And rather than taking that resonance and then putting up a shingle and saying, I'm a Quimbandero, I said, you know what, how do I choose intimacy? I'm gonna get my ass to the land. I'm gonna get my ass to the land, I'm gonna go be with the people, I'm gonna be with the culture that birthed this tradition that I'm in love with. And that's why I'm here. At least that's why I chose to come here. Belief. My first forays into belief began when I began looking at energy work and began looking at esotericism. I was 17 years old. I dropped out of high school. I moved to the East Village, Manhattan. I lived in a woman's living room who taught me spells and enchantment from a New York. New York has its own occult history that's really fascinating, and it especially involves candles and color magic and carving candles, and she taught me some of that stuff. I grew up but about my own background, just because it's important to understand in relation to my work. I grew up in, as I said before, Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. I grew up knowing myself to be black race. You're just black. You're just black, and that's just stupid. Like, that, no one is a color. I had come to know myself as of combined West and Central African origin and history. My Celtic and my Irish, Scottish ancestry has become hugely important to me, as those ancestors have been forward in my life. I also have American Indian heritage. All of these things come into my life. But at that time, when I was 17 years old and just learning these spells, I was stepping out of an evangelical context, an evangelical Christian context that had a huge hold on me, like many young queer people, at least, probably especially many young queer men. I was thoroughly engaged. The arts, hello. we're like literally, the main singer in the choir. I'm like, every Wednesday night I'm playing the guitar or DC Talk and Newsboys and all of the Christian rock stuff. To be the at the forefront of and to be the emblematic evangelical Christian in a context that I had no idea in about 2 years would kick me the fuck out. Not actually kick me out, but just begin to treat me like shit. What was fascinating. And that was when some of my beliefs began to crumble, because I had the belief that I was home. And then home started not feeling like home. Home started looking like a war that was instigating a war in myself. And, as any person of marginalized background who grows up in a context where the folks around them might be, more normative, once one brick comes out of the wall, it's far easier for all of the other bricks to start crumbling. And that's what happened to me. So here I was, evangelical Christian, Jesus freak, as DC Talk had invited me to be. And then I'm looking at, if this church is not accepting me, and if who I am is not enough, then is God even real? And I went through about a 2-year period where, just to deal with the pain of betrayal, I called myself an atheist. There was, I was way too connected to the sacred in general to ever really be an atheist. The book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh got me through that period of my life. And then here I was learning occult spells from this woman in Manhattan who I was living with. And that was one of my first forays into belief, just the loss of all beliefs, that there was no more evidence to support the beliefs that I had. A couple of years later, I had a lot more, it's probably about 21 years old at that time. Now I'm 35, by the way. About 21 years old, I had a lot more books on magic and spirituality. I started exploring chakras. Chakras are really big and cool in the new age world, at least. And what I'm doing, and this was scary. I'm actually like remembering how scary this was now it's not just about reading or doing spells, but now it's about using things like visualization. Now I'm literally closing my eyes and I'm traveling through my 7 chakras and I'm working with light and color to bring healing to them. And I start feeling better here and there. I'm trying to maintain practices because I'm feeling called in this direction. At that time, I probably called myself neo-Wiccan. But what's interesting to me now at that time was I was looking at you go into your heart chakra and you see what's there and okay, I see what's here. There's a woman, she's talking to me about this plant or something. I don't really know. That was the next stage of my encountering belief, because there was a question of, and I didn't really have the training or the teachers to really help me there, but there was this question of, A, why did I believe that these practices would be helpful? And B, was I going to believe, and why was I going to believe whatever I was seeing or sensing? And at that time, early in my practice, it wasn't really my job to believe what I was seeing or sensing. And I was seeing and sensing a lot of stuff. But what it did benefit me to do was to begin recording whatever came up. And I would find out over short spans of time, and then over longer spans of time, as I practiced and invented and engaged and explored with curiosity, that actually what I was seeing and sensing had some resonance, was speaking to something, was giving me actual information about my energy body, about the traumas I was holding in my body. And that the spirit world, interestingly enough, at that time, it wasn't seeing me as a beginner. It was seeing me because I was a chronological adult. It was expecting me to just get with the program, kid. Start doing the stuff. Because the spirit world was looking at me as, we know why you're here, you know why you're here, not realizing, wow, we've got this huge gap where I don't know why I'm here because my culture has done nothing, literally zero, to help me understand why I'm here. So that was my next foray into belief. The playing with, will I believe, does it serve me to start believing some of the insights I'm getting? Does it serve me to start believing that some of what I'm doing is worthwhile? Does it serve me to start believing that perhaps if I act on these insights, taking action might be worthy? And I would say that the next foray for me into the world of belief, or the idea of belief, was I started at Hampshire College. I started as a second-year student, very hippie college. We don't have majors, we have concentrations, as you all do. And what took me there, I don't remember exactly what was the impetus, but what took me there, what I was carrying into that first year that I was studying at Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts, was this question of, why do we have these cultural mores and ethics, and we're failing terribly at them? We're just like not doing the things we say we believe in, we want to do, especially around the environment and civic engagement and how to treat each other. And I brought that in one hand. In my other hand, I was thinking about embodiment. And I was thinking about ritual, especially in the traditional indigenous way. And I was thinking about, well, there's a big difference if I say, don't pollute that river, it's bad. And if I say, we don't pollute that river because it's mom, it's sister, why not? Is she not feeding us? Is she not loving us? Is she not giving? So generally, why shouldn't we apply some kind of anthropomorphized perspective here? And then not only that, but then because of this being, this natural force is providing us so much, wouldn't it be worthwhile for us? And now capitalism is, of course, because capitalism is all about abstractions, and capitalism is all about ignoring intrinsic value in order to add to my bottom line. If I ignore intrinsic value, my bottom line will be a lot higher. So we're not going to take that 2 days out of the year to go and embody our ethics, and then honor that river and really express that belief. Because how much would that, I can't pollute mom. Why would I pollute mom? Look at how much mom gives to me. So that was kind of how I entered Hampshire College. And those were sort of my first forays into belief. I would not have called them belief now, but I look at them now and I'm saying, you know, I can now attach the word belief to those experiences, ideas, and theories I was carrying. And then shit would get deeper some years later. I would like to do a quick exercise if everyone is available for that. I would like to take about 10 minutes. The first thing we're gonna do is I want you to write 2 things. What do you think you believe about your life and why? What do you think you believe about your life? 2 things.
Sorry to ask, but you refer to the spiritual aspect of my life or just the life in general?
That's all the same to me. Yeah, what do you think you believe about your life? And why do you think you believe that?
Okay, thank you.
And if this is all, by choice, if you've already written that down, you might expand a little bit and see if you can write down at least one thing you think your family believes. And why do you think your family believes that? What evidence do you have to support that?
I'm having trouble processing think you believe.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you, if it's easier to drop the think to get through the exercise, drop the think. If it's easier to just say, I believe this, that's fine. But keep in mind, after you've done the exercise, it's what you think you believe. And if you've already gotten through what your family believes / what you think your family believes, you might take a second to jot down what you think or what, in general, your culture believes. What does however you define culture. And why? Why does your culture believe that from your perspective?
Do you choose one culture? Because I didn't know.
Yeah, some of us have many cultures. You can totally pick one culture. You can pick an overarching culture. You can pick a culture within a culture, a subculture. Absolutely.
I find that question like the easiest one to answer.
Right though, yeah, I know. Absolutely. That one is easy to jump on with a hatchet.
But it's always both family and cultural, referring what do they believe about our life?
What do they believe in general? Let me see if I can give an example. My family believes that Jesus Christ is going to come back at any second. And they have to be prepared for it. Why? My evidence for that is because my mom says it every day. My mom says it every day. My culture believes that the dumber a man is, a cisgender man is, and expresses, the more manly he is. My evidence for that is the proliferation of media like Family Guy and American Dad and every movie from 2000 to 2010. That's what my, contemporary American, USA culture believes, and that's my evidence for it.
What I notice is it's really hard to do it, for example, with my family because they don't have a religious belief. So then it almost goes a bit more political.
Totally, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's like, I don't know, that's also interesting that it then goes to the political and when it's not like then a religious belief. And then obviously I don't know. And then, yeah, it just makes me feel weird.
Yeah, let me see if I can provide another one for my family. My family definitely believes it is good, a good thing to be given. I would say that, despite my qualms with my family of origin, I look at them as people who are very generous, who have always tried to give and be giving to neighbors and folks that they know. They believe that that's good.
Yeah. I find it hard to find something, especially when it's with politics, or with values. I feel it's really horrible and awful to say about my family, but I struggle to find something that they really believe in, which is kind of.
Do they believe that their environment is a good place? Do they like their town? Do they like living where they are? Do they believe that their town is a good place to be?
Yeah, that's a good one. But it's just, I just mean, like, it's interesting then when if religion is taken out of it, then maybe also certain values are taken out of it. And then also if the family are not particularly overly political, then it's really hard to, it's just weird to like judge my family in this way, and for people that I know so well to be like, hey, what do you even believe in? Like,
well, I guess judgment is an interesting word. I don't know if the invitation is so much for judgment as for observation and perspective. I think that, belief, we often think about the ideas of good and bad. My parents, my family believes in being upwardly mobile in a capitalist context, especially in ways that reflect, ideas around Blackness in America. Like, I grew up watching The Cosby Show and It's a Different World. My grandmother would look at me and say, "You're going to be the next president of the United States." I did not do that. I lost my opportunity for that. But, there was this, very much a striving, she was saying that in a 1965 Martin Luther King, "We have to make it" idea, and frankly, I think there's honorable things in that. I think there's also some really shitty shit in that, but I can just at least state that that's one of my family's beliefs.
Yeah.
Let's take another minute and wrap up here. And then I'll share a few of my beliefs and why. And the whys are important too, like what's the evidence you have here? How is my mother embodies that belief in her saying it every day, in her evangelizing, and her, I doubt that she has a friend who has not, by the second meeting, heard, Jesus Christ is coming back in a second. And she really believes, she's embodying it all the time. My father leaving his background as a drug dealer in Brooklyn, to move to the suburbs. That was an embodiment of the belief of forward movement for a Black family in New York, moving from the inner city to the suburbs. We're moving on up to the east side. That was ultimate embodiment of that belief, you know? So I'll share a couple of my beliefs and why. First off, I believe we are technology. I believe we are technology. I believe we all have a purpose and a function. I believe we operate like technology. We know when something feels, you know, oftentimes it's our feelings that lead us to an understanding of, are we doing well or not? We have a sense of whether or not we are operating at optimal capacity. We use these words all the time. We refer to ourselves in technological ways all the time, spiritually or no. I'm definitely not operating at optimal capacity at this time. You know, folks in the spiritual world, I'm receiving a download. Folks in the creative world, I was working on this, you know, book, and then I just got totally writer's block, and I just got this download. We're with this sense that something came into us that was not there before, and now we are integrating it into our work. We are working with technological words all the time, and if we expand from that into a diverse ecological perspective, Earth itself looks a lot like, to me, a living being, a living, breathing organism that is also technology. It looks like a self-healing, self-regulating organism, but also a self-healing and self-regulating piece of technology. You know, the ways in which prey and predator balance themselves out in a landscape that does not have human hands with a capitalist perspective meddling in it. The ways in which, you know, like, what were we all doing during, you know, the first 6 months of COVID? We're all sharing memes like nature is coming back, you know, because we're watching that without our meddling. It's a self-healing, self-regulating organism that's rebalancing itself and making moves. I will, you know, I'll take a second, I'll go a little bit further. I personally believe that we are the, you know, the Earth's nervous system. I believe that humans are a part of the Earth. I believe that we are the Earth, just like I believe that deer and rabbits and grass are the Earth. I believe one of our big, painful problems with our big ass brains, we just love making shit so complex. And we've also had some, I think, meddling with us. I believe that we are the Earth's nervous system. I believe that if you, I believe that the, you know, the Amazon rainforest, many people have, you know, referred to it as the Earth's lungs. If, you know, the Lakota of South Dakota currently have called the Black Hills the heart of everything that is. If you take an aerial overview, it looks like a human heart. I think that there are some really beautiful perspectives that one can have. But most of all, I believe we are technology, and knowing that we are technology, for me, helps simplify things. I think I've done a good job of explaining my evidence for why we are technology. And there's ways of being and fixing, and I think also people often experience a joy when they experience, you know, encountering purpose. My computer has a purpose. I don't know if it experiences joy exactly, but it's here, it has a function, it's doing stuff. I believe that in that sense of being technology, I believe that purpose is really hugely important. I believe that we are technology in part because I believe that the universe is very efficient. Everywhere we look, we see efficiency. We are a part of that efficiency. And it's our forgetting that we are a part of that efficiency and getting back towards ideas of purpose and the simplicity of ideas like that, that I think often results in our feeling collectively and personally really lost. Another belief I have, I believe that that deeply investigating the energy of belief in our lives can bring about radical personal and cultural transformation. I believe this because I deeply investigated the energy of belief in my life, and I've uncovered really fascinating shifts. I've experienced really fascinating shifts, especially where I felt like I had done everything else that I could in the mundane world and in my practices. Usually, if there's something that I feel like, but I still haven't fixed this thing, I need to look in the direction of belief. If we look at everything being everything, which from a shamanic perspective it is, and nothing being able to be left out, then belief becomes really, really important. And that for me at first was scary, because belief for me felt really unwieldy. How could I ever look at beliefs? Well, third thing, I believe we have excellent technology to look at beliefs. And we're going to look at those technologies a little bit later. I believe we have excellent technologies to look at beliefs, because I believe that we as humans have cultivated and or been given excellent technologies to be able to step out of our conscious controlling mind and take a back seat and receive some perspectives outside of us, receive some download that might allow us to look at our inner workings from a better perspective, including what we believe and whether or not it actually matches up with what we think we believe. I'm also teaching this class, number 4, because I believe I have medicine around belief. Why do I believe I have medicine around belief? Many years ago, I was working with a shaman, and I had been working with her for a few years. And I was, struggling to, overcome and understand some weird shit. Usually when I'm in a spiritual community context, I end up being the weird guy. The weird guy who either has the weird problems or has the weird gifts, or like the weird thing is happening. And we're, it's not to draw attention to myself. I just, weird, and just, came here with some weird stuff. But one of the things that really stood out for me, and I wanted to ignore it, but my resistance, I believe that we should lean into where we find resistance, because where there's resistance, there's power. My resistance was so strong. In fact, I remember when she was telling me in the audio narrative she delivered to my email about this this trance experience she had, where she went to her spirits and asked, "What the fuck is wrong with Chiron? What the fuck is wrong with Chiron? Why can't he get his shit together?" Because we're talking about, shamanism, spirits, chakras. In my work, we're asking basic questions. Why can't I get my shit together? Why do I feel lost? All these other words are us navigating the technology of being human and all the interconnections related to that. But we're asking real fucking questions. Where is my shit? Why do I have money? I thought I had some money last week. I don't have no money today. Where did it go? These are valuable questions to bring. It's not all mystic mumbo jumbo. But in this trance state that she went on my behalf, now it was delicious. It was delicious from a shamanic skill set perspective. We're going to explore shamanic skills later. It was delicious because her spirit provided her with something that she was going to be able to interpret based on their knowledge of her childhood, not my childhood, by the way. Because what they showed her was a boy riding a bicycle up a rope ladder and a small tiger standing by, looking by like, "I don't think this is a great idea." I mean, that doesn't sound like a great idea. Trying to ride a bicycle up a rope ladder, kind of weird. And in the trance state, she actually expressed to her helping spirits, again, we're down to earth here. What the fuck are you trying to tell me here about Chiron and why you can't get his shit together? And what they expanded this out into was, if you're at all familiar with the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes, which is about a boy with like an imaginary friend tiger. Again, not my background, but they knew that she would be able to look at this and she was able to say, okay, Calvin and Hobbes is about a small Caucasian boy from America with this imaginary friend Tiger, who's often trying to get him to check himself, often trying to provide him with wisdom, often trying to help him navigate weird stuff. So what this was giving to me, she was able to interpret was one, I had a tiger spirit, and two, that there was this tiger spirit who was trying to get me to realize that I was doing something backwards. I was really being off about something. And as she sensed into what the bicycle was going up the ladder, she sensed, Chiron, you're not realizing that you had cultivated in your past lives a lot of power around the energy of belief. And you are not doing yourself any favors in this lifetime around ignoring that. In fact, it's like you've got this big sword and you're using it to stab yourself. And of course, being a Black-raced queer person in suburban and Long Island with zero messages affirming me, saying this is who you are, this is who you come here to be, and you're beautiful, and you're majestic, and you're powerful, and do, in fact, everything saying the opposite. Of course, I had taken the cultural and surrounding narrative and beliefs about me, and very unfortunately turned them on myself. And it was my job to get wise and stop doing that shit. And it would require me not just loving myself and looking for media that reflected me, but it would also require for me to actually start getting very real about power. Because everything is about everything. We often say, like, everything is energy, everything is energy. That's true. I think it's also helpful to think about everything is about power. Everything is about power. It's not all about power over. It's about shared power. It's about quality of power. I have a lot of water energy in my life. It's more like a waterfall, less like a lake. These are different qualities of power. A lot of my work is looking at power. All of my work as a shaman and as an Houngan and it's all looking about, I'm looking at power. I'm looking at where power has been lost. I'm looking at how best to restore power. I'm looking at how powers best work together towards restoring and adding to power personally and collectively. All of my work is about exploring the nuances of power, and belief is absolutely an energy. It's a real energy. It's also a power. It's also about power. Now, just like everything else in our culture that's about power, belief has been made abstract. I don't know, it's something, I kind of believe this thing, I don't know, I'm kind of Unitarian now, my family grew up, we often it's abstract, just like the word love. Our culture obsesses, our culture is really obsessed with abstracting things, because if we abstract things, something else is frankly benefiting from that abstraction. Do I believe that it's a tether that connects us? I believe that it can be. I believe that belief is a tether that can connect us. I believe that, I do, and probably not in the ways that you would expect. I believe that belief is a tether that connects us for better or for worse, based on our honest assessment of belief. Because I guess we'll get to what that means in a second. We'll get to that in a second. Thank you for asking that question. Here I am, a child. I'm holding hands with my family. Far harder to come and abduct me. If you come and if I'm not holding hands with my family, if I'm abstracted, I'm in danger. Why am I in danger? Because I'm abstracted. Where we look in our culture and where we find abstractions, we can often begin to find what's benefiting from that abstraction. In our in the idea of belief itself being so abstract, something else benefits. Whether it's the belief that we're not worthy enough, whether it's the belief in scarcity, the belief that, I mean, if I believe I'm not worthy enough, the deodorant companies are really, they benefit from that abstraction from myself. They benefit from that belief. I'm far more likely to invest in that which I think will make me worthy. I'm far more likely to invest in those places where I sense there to be a gap, even if there is no gap. This is why belief is so important. As children, we've been influenced toward some belief. Again, these could be religious beliefs. These could be sort of just family values. We don't talk to those kinds of people down the street. Always put your money here. Grandma and grandpa love you. These are all beliefs. Family is important. Family isn't important. It matters. It doesn't matter. These are all beliefs. As children, we find ourselves shaped and influenced towards some belief. We usually cannot name them. That was what the practice was earlier, us trying to give some naming to some of the beliefs that we carry. That's one way we might harbor a belief. Another way we might harbor a belief is something tragic happens to us, or something miraculous happens to us. And now we believe something. Oh my God, it will always be this way. Or, oh my God, it will always be this way. Another way we begin to harbor beliefs. But all of these things put belief as something outside of our control. We've been influenced by family or culture to believe something. We've been influenced by context or event to believe something. This is often how we come about harboring beliefs. But all of these things, again, usually put the idea of belief outside of our control. The great opportunity that we have when we recognize that A, we are chronological adults with agency over our consciousness, and B, that our technology, beliefs are part of that technology, and therefore we have a responsibility to check that folder. We can actually start to bring beliefs into our control, examining what we've been harboring, and even beginning to change some of those beliefs, as impossible it might seem in the face of our life story. Someone said, I love the word chronological adults. I use the word chronological adults because I don't believe that we are adults generally. If we look at traditional cultures and the emphasis that is placed on initiation into adulthood, for me, from a shamanic perspective, an adult is someone who has shed their childhood energy body. As a child, you are here to explore, feel around, have experiences. Also, you're here to lie a lot. You have to make sure that the people in your life who feed you and house you like you. You have to make sure of that. Otherwise, you might experience there's the fear of experiencing annihilation or death or abandonment. Those are childhood fears that are very real because you are dependent upon the adults in your life. So you're creating all of these masks for mommy and daddy and uncle and grandma to like you. And what initiation into adulthood is, because initiation is a technology, it is the technology of, that was cute, and now we are going to slice you open and shed. We're going to provide a container in which this can happen in a good way. That's number one. We're going to provide a container in which, in a safe and healthy way, we can slice you open and shed the masks and emotional energy body that you developed to get through this time, because now you're an adult. And sky is daddy, and earth is mommy, or sky is mommy, and earth is daddy. And those fears of abandonment, and none of those matter anymore. You're not dependent. For us who have not been initiated into adulthood, we are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, still carrying these child needs that are entirely at odds with our capacities as adults. Who the fuck cares if no one likes you? Can you feed yourself? Who the fuck cares if you didn't get any? Who the fuck cares? From a shamanic energetic perspective, we are operating really inefficiently by carrying this child emotional body and operating from that place rather than from an adult emotional body that's actually plugged into far larger resources, earth, sky, woods, fishing, lake, and therefore able to focus less on, am I liked well enough to be supported? And able to then bring our finite attention to, am I living my purpose? Because we have finite attention. And your finite attention is either going to be highly placed on, will I survive? And yes, you are 30, 40, 50, 60, you're gonna survive. Or am I doing what I've come here to do? Because that's the role of an adult. That's sorry, tangent. That's why I use the term chronological adult, because I believe in accuracy. Kayla mentioned in my culture, there's no such thing as an adult, but there's young people and old people, and a young person can be any age. I would be so interested to learn more about that and to learn more about those distinctions. Kayla, would you mind expressing what culture you're talking about?
My background's Cree, but that's Blackfoot culture, which is what my elders are.
Awesome. And what would you say are the distinctions between young person and old person?
They've said that young person is like somebody who's engaged with the world and change. And then when you're an old person, you're giving back to the young people.
Giving back to the, yeah, totally distinct. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Being a young person, I am influenceable. And I'm here, it's your job. It's your job to be influenceable, to be shaped. And then as an old person, it's now your job to shape. And if that distinction never happens, if you just spend the whole time being influenceable, how will there ever be people to shape? So that totally makes, thank you so much for sharing that very specific cultural cosmology. Thank you so much for that, truly. We are technology. And because we are technology, and because beliefs matter, whether that scares us or not, or whether that feels possible or not to explore them, as part of that technology, it serves us to try to bring our attention to that. Here's our problem. We often try it once and then say that didn't work for me. I think that the book and the movie, The Secret, was like one of the worst things that could have happened to our culture. Because it said, if you think it, you'll have it. And it was being shared by all of these like billionaires and millionaires who've always set themselves up. And you know, when I saw The Secret, I was already, you know, thoroughly engaged in diasporic and indigenous medicines, and you know, the realization that I'm far more complex than what I think in the moment, and I can think it really hard, and I can believe I'm going to get that job. We probably all tried to really believe something would come true, and we probably all had the experience that it did, and we might probably had more experiences that it didn't. The truth is that we are complex. You know, there are harmful entities that can get in the way of our intentions. There are family dynamics. There are socioeconomic contexts. There are so many things at play. Having a strong belief in one direction can absolutely help tilt things, but oftentimes not enough so that our whole world radically changes in a day. What the real issue is when it comes to belief is that not only are you technology, but you are divine. You are, and from my perspective, creator. You are absolutely made of the same stuff that began our cosmos. And that same stuff, that stuff that we appease and bow down to and try to name and sometimes really get a big whiff of, or we're made of it through ideas of transcendence and like we're trying to often, or appease, we're often trying to get closer to it. We're trying to remind the parts of ourselves that are denser, that perhaps are more lost in the confusion of this game of separateness, that they are divine. And sometimes we get glimpses. Sometimes we feel really good. Sometimes we've got our freaking dress on. We feel really good. I'm out here on this Friday night. I'm Beyonce tonight. Like, y'all can't touch this. Like, I look so good. We have that night. We have that day. We have that moment. And we're usually trying to turn it up in a more regular way. And we keep finding out, like, why did I feel so good last weekend? Why did I fall again today? Why did I lose that? This is not about, good or bad. Again, because we're talking about technology, I'm talking from a place of what helps us be more effective, what helps us be more efficient. Maybe you fell because you were able to access that day, but like, I'm worthy, but perhaps you also have a conflicting belief that I'm absolutely not worthy. We can have more than one belief at a time. And the thing is that in this beautiful game of experience in the cosmos, one thing that we've given ourselves as creator is a feedback system. The universe is literally saying, oh, you want to experience that? Great. Oh, you resonate as this? Wonderful. I will give that back to you. So when we are struggling, as we all are, with conflicting beliefs, I am worthy, I am absolutely not worthy. We have evidence to support both. Oftentimes, I believe the universe is giving us a shit ton of evidence that supports both. I believe that I am a really good shamanic teacher. Look, University of the Underground totally invited me to teach this class. This is totally evidence. Oprah has not yet called me. This is also evidence. I have some conflicting beliefs here. I also have conflicting beliefs about my role in general because my goal is not to be a worldwide shaman, but there are conflicting beliefs in my matrix, and this feedback system is giving it right back to me for me to see, and it's my job to begin to parse these things out. One of the ways that we can start forming a healthier relationship with the energy of belief, this unwieldy, abstract thing. I don't know, I got influenced as a kid and then this thing happened, I broke my leg and now I'm just always afraid. I believe something will happen, bad will happen. We're not usually not conscious of this. You know who is conscious of this? That we have really like local fucking access to? Our inner child. Our subconscious. We're operating, it is not our job to walk around and be like, buying a bagel, I believe this. Got my paycheck, I believe this. Like that's not conscious, that's not conscious person job. Conscious person job is act. Conscious person is drawing on the resources of the subconscious. One of those resources is, what do we believe? Cool, we're gonna act on that, thanks. It's our inner child, which is a whole other constellation we're going to jump into in a second, that knows what we believe, knows why we believe it, and beginning to engage our inner child and ask them the questions of, what do you believe and why, starts to give us some hold over this seemingly unwieldy and abstract place. And one of the tools that our inner child uses, because it's not just believing, actually our inner child is a lot more cool and innovative than we are. Our inner child is not just receiving beliefs and being influenced to believe. One of the things our inner child is also doing is choosing to believe when they make believe, when they engage imagination. A child who is living, and we all start this way, an enchanted life. The world is filled with things, and from that I'm going to add something else. And now I've been this Our inner child is so fucking innovative. And we, as chronological adults, have so much to learn from that. So our next exercise is, I invite you to write down one thing you believed as a child. And you don't have to jump far. It doesn't have to be, I believe that bats carried me away every night. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It can be, I believe Dad was great. I believed in the boogeyman. I believed Brussels sprouts tasted horrible. I believed that because I was lied to by cartoons. And then I got to college and everyone was like doing like maple glaze with nuts. Brussels sprouts are delicious if you roast them, delicious. And now I want you to write down something in your life that happened that seemed impossible. My mom called me once in college. I didn't have anywhere else to turn. I was just like, hey, I called her, I think, and I said, you hadn't talked to me in 3 or 4 years, and I said, could you pay that phone bill? And she said, baby, of course. Again, we hadn't talked about 3 or 4 years. And then she said, you know, I want you to know something, baby. I've been talking to someone. I've been talking to a psychologist. And I want you to know, mommy's sorry. At that time, I believed that was impossible. Our inner child knows that when we actively engage belief, when we take over the idea, when we choose to make belief in the moment, things happen. Things speak back to us, perhaps not immediately in the physical world. I believed I got that job and I got that job. It happens sometimes. Depends on the odds, depends on how the winds are sailing, depends on a lot of factors. But our inner child is not caught up in the physical world in the way that we might be as chronological adults. They know that when they make believe, something starts speaking back. That something might just be creative inspiration. This whole floor is lava. Oh my God, and now there's a boat, and now there's, oh, don't touch that tile. I'm making believe. This might offend some people, this might offend your family, but it could be that Genesis 1 through 25 are one of the greatest examples of making belief. God said, let there be light, and there was light. Making belief, he was making belief. Boom, pow, make it happen. As adults, we get to really explore the nuances and technology thereof in the face of, I might not get it today, I might not have it this moment, but I can begin to play and recognize the worth their while and engage this part of me that realizes the value of this. And if I cultivate a strong enough relationship, if I cultivate this muscle, maybe I can get more out of it than I got today. Children are good at this because their sense of divinity is still very strong. They haven't had it beaten out of them, frankly. Which is what happens to us as contemporary chronological adults. We get here into a world of chronological adults who have had wonder utterly beaten and teased out of them. And then we have it beaten and teased out of us. So they are still carrying they know who they are. They know they're worthy. And also they carry a strong relationship to the spirit world. They just got here. They just got here. They remember it a lot better than I do. So sometimes it's creative inspiration, and sometimes it shows up as imaginary friends, and sometimes those imaginary friends are their own helping spirits. I cannot tell you how often I will tell someone, you know, you've got this animal helping spirit that just showed up, and they're talking to me about how powerful you are, and I'm like, I was hanging out with them when I was 5. Or that was my ancestor so-and-so, that was granddad so-and-so. So they're really, they know about the power of belief. It sucks because right before they really step into a chronological adult agency to use it, we've kind of beaten it out of them. As chronological adults, I believe it is our job in our contemporary world to step into right relationship with our inner child, our subconscious, beginning to give it voice, beginning to tell it, I value you. If I think that if decolonization or anything along those lines is valuable to anyone in our class, then that is not just reading academic textbooks. That is decolonization on a very personal level is, I'm going to recognize indigenous wisdom. Indigenous wisdom says, we live in a feedback system that is supporting me toward expressing something, to leave something behind for those who come next. I am being guided, and I am being guided constantly towards this. We step into our right relationship with our inner child in part by choosing to start recognizing that guidance. It can be that simple. What signs are showing up in your life on a regular basis? Are you walking around and like 3 people mentioned the same thing that day? Write it down. Starting to give that place where you connect with, we can say we are interconnected until the cows come home. We can say we want to decolonize until the cows come home. If you don't see the value in writing down the synchronicities that happened in your week, you're just playing Potsy. What is Potsy? I don't know, but it's something that Anita says to Maria in West Side Story, the movie. She says, we're not just playing Potsy. So I don't know, but it's what I say. If you don't see the value in recognizing the subtle streams of information that are coming to you and speaking to you on a regular basis, you're just playing Potsy. If you're not beginning to look at your dreams or ask, do I dream? What might be here? I'm not saying you have to go and run toward a religion, run toward a priest, run toward ayahuasca, run toward a shaman. I'm saying if you're not recognizing that bringing attention to these things is valuable, that says a lot about what you actually believe in the face of what you think you believe. Playing is yet another way that we invite our inner child up toward us. We can start to cultivate a stronger relationship with our inner child. Making believe, not toward an outcome, but just for the fucking sheer fun of it. As humans, we may feel oppressed by our conditions, but that's when we realize that we have the opportunity to recognize that we are creator. And then we play, and we begin to re-enchant our lives. One way that we can begin to play is through visualization. Someone says they found out that their inner child is very harmful for them. I think there should be care in doing this. Thank you, Chloe, for saying that. That was something we were going to bring up. Because we have our inner child. We have something else that's less spoken about. And this is our wounded child. These two parts of us exist in both of these archetypes. Our inner child is ready and willing, and yep, you're in the color blue is awesome, and rain, and I don't like broccoli, but like fun. And then our wounded child is, it all fucking sucks. Get me the fuck out of here. And through practices like soul part retrieval, which we can't really explore too much right now, but soul part retrieval and related practices, we have the opportunity as chronological adults to go back to those wounded child parts and be the adult that wasn't there when the thing happened. One of my old shamanic teachers said that we are in a difficult position in our culture where we don't initiate into adulthood because we are a plane in motion doing repairs on the plane. Our culture is not going to say, sure, take a year off, initiate into adulthood. We don't get that time. So we have to do it more piecemeal. Rather than getting the big slice off, you enter the cave with the kids and the elders, and now you leave, here's your new name. Don't even have that childhood baggage anymore. We don't have that. So we actually have to do things more like soul part retrieval, where we are working piecemeal and one by one, being attentively and carefully being led to those moments where we were abandoned or afraid we would be abandoned, or where we were afraid we'd be annihilated, and going back into memory and telling that child, I'm here, I'm 27 years old, I just want you to know that you make it. And that child goes, oh, and returns to us. And that is how we start to bring, that's how we make inner child work, which for some people I imagine could be harmful, far more healthy and safe, because we're taking from the wounded child and we're adding to our inner child a wounded child, that wounded child who just wants to get the fuck out of here because I can't believe I fucking signed up for this, you people are terrible, is not ready to play. But now that, oh, I'm safe now? Oh, okay, well, I have some ideas about what's worthwhile. I have ideas about what's fun. One of the ways that we can play, again, is through visualization. Visualization is a heavy word because some folks immediately back away from it. They believe that visualization actually means I close my eyes and I see stuff. Quick tutorial on psychic skills. Everyone can visualize. It doesn't necessarily look like inner vision. Some of us actually work with an inner knowing. I've absolutely had days where I will be in a deep trance state doing work for clients, and I'm not seeing cool things in my mind's eye. I am just knowing, okay, yep, and now this tiger showed up, and they gave me a glass of water, and now I'm sensing this ancestor. All of our physical inner senses also exist in our inner landscape. So just take a moment and honor, just tell yourself, I'm going to honor my psychic senses. I'm going to honor what might come up for me. We all have psychic inner sense. Let's take a quick moment. I invite you to take a moment and close your eyes. Imagine that you have a tennis ball in your hand. And one of the things we're also going to do during this is we're going to be with, while we try to engage this tennis ball, we're going to be with whatever comes up. I know that for me right now, I had a rough client session last night, so I've got a few different energies moving around right now. Nothing particularly, but I'm not as clear-sighted as I would like to be. I've got more cleansing to do. I'm aware of that, and I'm going to be with that. And in the face of that, I'm also going to be with, I've got this tennis ball in my right hand. I'm going to be with the weight of it. You might imagine that this has the weight of a tennis ball. You might imagine throwing it up in the air, letting it drop back into your hand. You might throw it up in the air, let it drop back into your hand. other things or beings or senses or images or shapes. Don't worry about that. You don't have to give your power away. You always have the power to be with what is. That is a power that no one can take away from you. And oftentimes in visualization, we're trying to get back to our inner child and play and even explore psychic skills. We immediately start giving, oh, I'm not doing this perfectly. That's not the time. You have the power to be with what is, and also be with this tennis ball. And again, you throw the air, let it drop back into your hand. Throw it in the air again, let it drop back into your hand. Again, this might be something that you see with your inner eye. It might be something that you actually feel. You might actually feel a presence in your right hand. That's cool too. You might just have a sense of knowing all of these are valuable. This is one way that by acknowledging and expressing to yourself that all of these things are valuable, you are literally inviting your inner child to come forward and play. You're saying, the way that I play, the way that I sense, the way that I imagine is worthy. You might just allow that tennis ball to just disappear, or like blow it up, however you choose to let that go, opening your eyes, coming back into the moment. Another way of playing that you might find valuable, and now we're moving into more, this might have a big impact rather than just throwing a tennis ball in the air. You might consider looking at the work of William S. Burroughs. William S. Burroughs cultivated the cut-up technique, which is just a really powerful way of playing. This can be anything from having a small box of phrases or things that you cut out of newspapers and magazines and sort of pulling them out as a form of divination combined with world making. I know folks who have engaged his idea of you literally, you might take a photo of yourself and a friend. You might say, we're going to do a project together, and you might cut half of your face, and you might cut your friend's half of your face and only put them together. He called this the third mind. Another famous experiment he did. And why experiment? Because he was playing. He had the idea that he wanted to arrive at an intention, that he wanted to accomplish an intention, but what he was really doing was he was playing. And that's why it was an experiment. There was a cafe that he really, really loved, and he felt that the local posh demographics were taking it over, that the cafe was sort of giving into those demographics. So what he did was he spent some time recording the cafe, the sounds of the cafe and its functions. And he spliced this up with like sounds of like destruction and terror. And he would go back and would play this back to the cafe on a regular basis. And the cafe closed shortly thereafter. That's one way to play. If you've ever done a spell, and not necessarily just a spell that you've been prescribed, but if you've ever decided to explore magic, if you've ever been, explored color theory, and I want money and love are the easiest to think about. I want a red candle and a rose, and I'm going to just put these together, these are all inner child engagements that also show us how powerful our inner child and our subconscious can be. And it's okay if everything doesn't work at once. William S. Burroughs played that fucked up recording of the cafe back to the cafe again and again and again until that closed. And he was already, when he did this, I'm pretty sure, very knowledgeable about esotericism, but he practiced. And he even had the inner child wisdom to even come up with this very cool, kind of fucked up idea that worked. So one of the first things that we need to do when we want to start looking at the energy of belief is start inviting our inner child, yes, kind of fucked up, to the table. and saying the way you see the world is worthy, which is often something that we as children were not told. We're going to take a break shortly, but before that, we're going to do one last exercise. And this is an exercise that my friend and colleague Caitlin Foisy, F-O-I-S-Y. If you go to caitlinfoisy.com, you'll see her. She is an excellent time-traveling glamour witch of incredible wisdom and combined Romani and American Indian and other European heritage. It's what she calls rewriting the narrative. We're gonna start the break about now. Your job, this is gonna be, it's about 20 to the hour on my end. And I believe after that, we've got about an hour to go. So we're gonna take a 20-minute break, but in this break, this is your homework. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to do a rewriting the narrative exercise. This is gonna require that you pull your attention out of the class, bring it to your life, and think about, where am I at right now? Where would I like things to be, or what would I like to have achieved or have happened in about a week or 2 weeks? And you're gonna take about 5 minutes to write that down, to write out in a first person present tense way what you would like in, say, a week or two, what you would like your life to feel like, look like, be like, if there's certain things you want to have, certain things you want to have happen. You're just gonna write that out. And immediately after writing it out, I want you to be with a feeling of gratitude in your body that this has happened. That's one of the ways I play all the time. I make believe that something I want to have happen has happened. And I express gratitude, literally taking something from the ether, an idea, and I've already made it physically manifest because gratitude is an embodied experience. I make believe. You're gonna take 5 minutes to do that. The other thing I want you to do is, I want you to cleanse yourself. How would you do that? Well, I know some of you have some sage somewhere, or Palo Santo, or mugwort. I'm sure all of you have strong ideas about what you're allowed to use around that, and that's all fine. I want you to grab whatever you can grab that you feel might be cleansing on some level. Grab a pinch of salt and throw it over your left shoulder. Take a bay leaf, light it on fire, and drop it in a bowl of water. Use that water to just run it through your aura, sprinkle around your space. You all have, if you're like, I don't know what to do with ingredients, spin around in a circle 20 times and just say, go away, everything bad. Your job in the next 20 minutes, well, now it's 15 minutes, is to rewrite the narrative, express gratitude or feel gratitude, and engage some act of cleansing. We'll be back in 15 minutes.
Can I have a quick grammar question?
Please.
So when you say present perfect, so is it we are imagining what will happen in week or two in the future and imagine that it has happened, that it will happen, or something in the past 2 weeks that hasn't happened, but we are reimagining?
So if you're thinking about something in the next week or two that you would like to happen, or how you would like your life to feel, and you're writing it in the sense of, I am sitting at that cafe and Danny is finally sitting with me and he's really looking at me with those eyes that make me feel like you're writing it in this tense about how something that you would like to have happen or how you would like your life to feel. Then gratitude, then active cleansing.
Okay, thank you so much. See you in 15.